Hi, good evening. I'm Anandan Subramanian. Thanks for the participation. I think four have joined so far. We'll be starting the session as it is. We would always like to start the session at the right time. Don't want to penalize those who have joined in advance. We'll be seeing the type of manufacturing facilities in India. Basically, it was only two before independence. Not even two. There was two, but they considered only two before independence. Sorry, not independence. Sorry, before 1987. After 1987, the ASADAS facility was also included in the legislation. Hope I am. My voice is clear. If anybody has any issues, please you can type it in the chat. As usual, uh, I would like to switch off video because it will consume a lot of net connectivity so that my voice may go slowly. So today we'll be seeing all three types of factory manufacturing facility. What is the difference between three? And we're going to see exhaustively what is the employer duty or workers' obligations on dangerous occurrences, facility which has more dangerous occurrence, and hazardous, which is hazardous process. Okay, I'll switch off video now. Okay, hope everyone's seeing my PPT. Okay, if anyone wanted to contact me, you can always chat box. Okay, okay, we are starting now. Uh, Basically, today's agenda will be, we will be discussing about three different types. There's ordinary manufacturing facility, dangerous facility, and hazardous process facility. That is what we are going to decide on how it was determined by the factory authorities. And each type, ordinary, dangerous, and hazardous, what are the compliances, obligations, duties, obligations of worker and the duties of the employer. That is what we are going to discuss. Exactly this. We don't have any FAQs in this because this is very exhaustive. FAQ, maybe you can raise whatever queries you may have in between. That's what I have mentioned. Briefly, we will see what are the history of this legislation. 1851, the first establishment, which is cotton mills in Mumbai, currently Bombay, and second was jute mills in Risra, Bengal, that unified Bengal. In 1872 and 73, there were 18 textile mills. Earlier, it was only textile mills, which was considered as a factory in Mumbai, Bombay, and 5 jute mills in Bengal. That's what was there earlier. As you know, even now in some industry, it is very gloomy. Earlier, it was nobody is there to even regulate, so it was gloomy and awful. That's what is mentioned. First legislation regulating factories in India started in 1881. So comprehensively put onto many industries. A complete act came in 1948, I think, in the month of September. Almost we are celebrating 72 years right now, and it is going to change to Code on OSH. Maybe very soon it is going to change. Every other provision of this act is going to be uh, taken over by Code on OSH. Many amendments after independence, but very crucially, that is what we are going to see exhaustively. That is after 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy. Within 3 years of the tragedy in 1887, there was a very big change. Amendment came. One chapter was included, chapter 4A, and one section, very crucial section, section 2CB, very, very crucial, that was introduced in 1987. That there they have included some 29 industries which were considered as a hazardous processes. That's got introduced. So this is a brief history how the Factories Act evolved throughout. So what maybe next year, I think when we are going to discuss next time on Factories Act, it will be only on code on OSH, not maybe on the Factories Act. Very soon it is going to be notified. Yes, notified. Okay, who is an employer? Wherever it is any establishment, whether it is a shop or a commercial establishment or a catering establishment or a mine or a manufacturing facility, there should be one employer. As per the manufacturing facility, as per the legislation, who is the employer? Occupier and manager are responsible, but anything and everything is accountable for a factory, manufacturing facility is the occupier. In a proprietorship company, the proprietor will be deemed as an occupier. In partnership company, in LLP, one of the partner. It should be more than two, any one of the partner. Private public limited company, one of the director, not non-executive director, only executive directors on the board. State or central government owned person so nominated by the responsible government, respective government. See, if the partners or the board of directors do not nominate any one of the director as an occupier, it was not occupied. It should be notified. Sorry, it should be notified. Then only the license will be issued in the name of the occupier. When you see any license in whichever state, that it will be very clearly mentioned after the director's name. Somebody will put occupier. Somebody will put in bracket O. That is considered as an occupier. That among the 4 or 5 or 2, that person will be considered as an occupier. So the primary responsibility of the occupier is the manager, factory manager, whoever is appointed will only oversee his responsibilities, but the accountability lies only on the occupier. His responsibility is to ensure compliance with applicable legislation at the place which is under the ambit of definition of factory. So wherever the factory premises is there, whatever happens inside that factory premises, he is responsible for anything and everything. So in 1996, the Supreme Court confirmed, if a person was nominated as an occupier, he is the only person among the directors or among the partner will be responsible. If he was not nominated, then the factory authority, whoever is, maybe somewhere it is inspector, in Tamil Nadu it is deputy director, joint director, whoever is, they can choose to prosecute or nominate and issue notice to any one of the director, considering them as an occupier if they were not nominated while application. Or maybe, for example, one occupier was there, he demitted the office and he was not there, and other 3 directors are there. So we cannot issue a notice to an occupier who is not there, or maybe who was met an unfortunate death, then who will be issued a notice for any emergency. Then the factory authority will decide. That is what is also confirmed by the Honorable Supreme Court. Okay, these 3 types I have rated hazardous as the very recently also we have seen something in Andhra Pradesh, and sometime back we have seen something in near Chennai also. So some factory was into flames for almost 2 days. So many other very recent cases are there. What kind of responsibility the directors have been taken? Things like that were discussed among the newspapers, many social networks, things like that. So hazardous, a process which causes material impairment. The difference between the dangerous and the hazardous. In hazardous, it causes material impairment. So the health of the persons here, not only the worker, the public also, and result in the pollution of the general environment. That is what is main difference between dangerous and hazardous. Where dangerous is a process which exposes serious bodily injury, poisoning, or disease. We will see what is that poisoning and all. There is a list. We are not going to detail, but this is the difference between dangerous and hazardous. Ordinary factory, nothing is there. Like we have a warehouse, or maybe we are having a very small facility where, as per section 2M, that there is a process, but it is not dangerous. We are not lifting anything. We are not using any other pressure vessel. Many things are there. So very small activity is going on, which is considered as a factory, not as an establishment. It's an ordinary factory. So there, the compliance, the duties of employer is very, very, very limited. Okay, these are all the major 3 types of manufacturing facilities in India. Okay, ordinary factories, normal process of manufacturing. There is nothing else more than doing some activity over there, and there is a product or a service out of that. Process, dangerous process. Processor usually called grinding will be there, welding will be there, gasketing will be there, sand blasting. Sand blasting is nothing but taking out rust or dust out of some metals, things like that. That is called as a sand blasting. It's a dangerous process. After that, it will be painted, things like that. So these are all things called as a dangerous processes. So dangerous occurrences, bursting of plant or vessel working under pressure. Sometimes it bursts. Very recently, something happened in Neyveli Lignite Corporation also. Collapse of lifting equipment. That's why the lift, stackle, cranes, everything has to be certified by the competent person. We will be seeing that. Explosion or fire causing damage, collapse of floor, gallery, roof, etc. These are all the dangerous occurrences where it will cause a major bodily injury to the workman. List of dangerous machines. There is an exhaustive list. I have picked up very, very few. Power press, milling machines, latent printing presses, guillotine. Guillotine, I think I have seen many things in Sri Perumbudur, Varakadamata. The guillotine, going near the machine itself will cause some fear in us. People were standing and working every day. Guillotine, decorticator, oil expeller, these are all very dangerous machines. It should be very cautious. It should be supervised. They should adhere to the safety precautions, otherwise it may cause bodily injury. Hazardous, usually called very few, is mechanical hazards where it is inadequately guarded machine parts. It may explode, causing many things. That will create a pollution environmentally. That is what, not a small mechanical hazard. That will be considered only as a dangerous. Chemical hazards, toxic gases. What happened in Andhra Pradesh? It's a chemical reaction. Fumes, smoke, dust. Because of the fumes only in Andhra Pradesh, that has happened. Electric hazard, inadequately insulated line wise. Because of that, fire comes, and because of this fire, the entire factory will burn out. Things like that. Radiation hazards and things happen. Pollution, water pollution, and noise pollution. I cannot name. Very recently, also some court cases are going on. How it is polluted and why it is called hazardous, why it was closed, things like that. So in 1987, when the Act was amended, 29 industries were listed in the first schedule, considering it was renumbered at that time. Before it was a different schedule. It was renumbered, and 29 industries were listed as a hazardous manufacturing facilities. It involves in an industry process, they will be called as hazardous. There are around 29 notifiable occupational diseases that will come under the dangerous. There are around 32 dangerous operations as notified. In Tamil Nadu, it is notified as 32 operations. Each state has different operations. Somewhere it is 27. In some states it is 26. Things like that. That dangerous operations was not actually mentioned in the Act. It was restricted to the respective state rules. Okay, this is what is the major operational difference between ordinary, dangerous, and hazardous. Okay, we'll be seeing some few activities. What is required in any manufacturing facility? This is what is going to be major duties and obligations of the worker and duties of the employer. So housekeeping, everyone knows that. Everybody knows it. Housekeeping is only sweeping, mopping, cleaning the toilet. It is not in a factory. Housekeeping, it is not a simple work. It means orderly arrangement of operations, tools, equipment, storage facilities, and supplies. The storage facility, very clearly, we will be discussing about the definition of 2CB, where how sensitive this storage facility, then why the housekeeping is very important in dangerous as well as hazardous manufacturing facility. We'll be looking. So housekeeping, I have listed around some 12. All are required in the ordinary factories or dangerous factory or an hazardous factory. So cleaning of windows. See, these are all the part of provisions of the Factories Act under welfare, safety, and the other one. The tidiness of workbenches, tidiness of work areas, storage areas, rest areas. This is also very important. Provision of waste disposal, adequacy of ventilation, passageways free from the obstruction. So a part of 5 years, many companies are following where to keep the right you know, thing and object in its place. Every object has its place. Otherwise, it will obstruct the way the production will come down. That is what one of the 5S. Exits, accessibility, and marked. So it has to be very clearly marked which way. So there is a provision in the Factories Act that from any point of the premises, a person has to have an exit somewhere around 21 feet, I believe. So otherwise, it is called as a non-compliant. Things like that. It should be marked. A person suddenly, if he is some emergency, he needs to know which way he has to run around to go to exit from that place. Any emergency, it is a fire emergency or smoke or anything else or an earthquake, anything. So these are to be very clearly marked. These are all parts of housekeeping. Adequacy of suitable lighting, definitely yes. Adequacy of warning signs. Warning signs, making warning signs is part of safety work, but keeping it always visible is the housekeeping area of work. Okay, fire protection, serviceability of fire protection. This is a major area of work for, I think, in many establishments it is HR is taking care. In some establishment, the facilities department or the safety department will take care. Fire equipment serviceability, they may have fire extinguishers, many other things, which time they have to be serviced, refilled, things like that. Fire equipment adequacy, whether for this kind of a organization or this kind of a process, how much fire equipment is required, which type of fire equipment, class A, class B, class C, D and E. So which type of fire equipment is required and whether it is accessible. That's what mentioned in the third one. Accessible, whether it is accessible, things like that. So these are all important and required in all three types of manufacturing facility. Storage of flammable materials, usually in ordinary factory, it may not be there. So that's why it was marked, it's not required. Operation of fire escape facilities, accessibility and adequacy of fire escape. So, as I told, from a point of place inside the factory premises, maybe if there is a electric fire, so somebody has to switch off the main. There, they have to go to that main switch and switch off. So the accessibility is to be there. There is a signboard should be there. A proper lighting should be there. There are so many. It is a collaboration between housekeeping department and fire protection. These two should collaborate so that then someone can go easily and switch off the electric also. Because of electric spark, there is a fire. These kind of things are to be considered. Employees aware of correct use of equipment. So fire due to maybe a petrol or a gas or electric, now what should be used? Sand or DCP or fumes or water, which has to be used. There should be a regular fire drill. We are not going to look onto all those things, but these are all the main activities, obligations of the employees needs to know duties of the employer to regularly have a training program and I should have a mock fire drill, things like that. So fire warning, no smoking signs, so where they should not smoke, where they should not take even many industries, people were not allowed to take mobile phones also. With that spark also, something gets fire. Emergency drill practice. So these are all part of activities under fire protection. This is more important. Most of the big industries only practice this, but there is a supply from the management, but the employees, workers are usually not using it. They don't know the seriousness of wearing this personal protective equipment. Nowadays, everyone is wearing that personal protective equipment. So what we are wearing, mask or a gloves now, or a shield, what we wear because of corona, also called as a personal protective equipment. These are all being practiced in all establishments. It is required in, definitely required in dangerous, mainly dangerous, because welding is there, gas cutting is there, arc welding will be there, painting will be there. So many other activities will be carried on. There, PPE is very, very important. So all personal protective equipment provided to the worker. This is one of the major duty of the employer, should be ISI certified, and it should be approved. That particular PPE should be approved by the state government. Otherwise, it is considered as a non-compliance. So eye protection, mostly in ordinary factories, it may not be required, but definitely welding areas, all such areas in dangerous and all, it is required. In hazardous also it is required. Hearing protection, that's a big sound, guillotine machines, so or machine cutting, many other areas, it's dangerous, where we need hearing protection. We will be seeing the details of this PPE in the later slide. Face shield, maybe. Sometime in painting area also this is required. Arc welding, other gas cutting, these areas we require this. Protective clothing, availability of condition. Aprons, that may be required or may not be required in ordinary units, but in other two it is required. Safety shoes, any industry, factory, I think this is a standard dress code. Most of the industries require people to come with the shoes, that is only safety shoes. The tip of that shoes will be covered with an iron one, the tip one. So not ordinary shoes or chappals are not allowed. Usually this is the practice, but irrespective of this, many contracts laborers, they don't come with the safety shoes. Glasses, gloves, respirators, definitely yes. Wherever chemical is there involved in the processes of any manufacturing facility, it is required. Definitely, because suddenly some smoke or fume comes, everybody will be deprived of oxygen. At that time, respirator is required. Safety installations, deluge showers, we'll be seeing that in the next slide. Eye wash stations, headgear, head helmet, hand protection. That's almost like a glove only. PPE is a barrier between hazard and the person. The person here means whoever it is. It is whether the worker or the visitor or whoever comes into the manufacturing facility to protect from the dust, dirt, fume, sparks, etc. So this is what is important. So we have classified all the PPEs and where it is required. That's also very mentioned. So we'll be seeing exhaustively about each PPE. Head protection, hard hat, cap, helmet. Helmet usually made up of aluminum, PVC, or fiberglass. It depends upon the kind of manufacturing facility. The helmet is used to protect. It is spelling mistake. Head, spark, danger materials falling on the head. Maybe melting was stored on the top when people are trying to take out from the top. If something falls there, so the headgear will protect. Face and eye protection, spectacles, welding goggles, face shield, everything. So protect flying particles, radiation, everything. Hand protection, gloves, hand pads made up of leather, rubber, PVC, asbestos. So asbestos usually when they take very hot iron and all, they used to have this. Protect acid, oil, grease, pure Alex rubber, gloves, electrical. So when they used to have a rubber when they handle electrical equipment. Foot and leg protection, safety shoes, gum boots, foot leg guard made metal, leather or rubber, falling materials or during electrical work. Body protection, apron, hood, coverall, jacket made out of rubber, leather canvas, lead PVC and asbestos. They protect entire body. Asbestos hood during the firefighting. Corrosively liquid fumes and vapor. It's a full suit, or maybe if there is a big fire, you may see this. Safety belts, a person is working 3 meters, he is working from a place 3 meters away from uh, the surface or 3 meters away from the wall, something like that. That cases, he needs a safety belt, otherwise it will be very difficult. See, for example, people will be cleaning the building outside or painting or construction or working at the heights from the surface. They will be working. If it is more than 3 meters, then they need to have the safety belt also. They have to wear the helmet also, things like that. Ear protection when people are working near big noise creating work areas, they need this one. Ear muff when 30 to 135 decibels it is required. Ear plug it is to 115 to 120. This is what is mentioned over there. So these are all the personal protective equipments required in both dangerous as well as the hazardous. It's the duty of the employer to provide. It is must mandatory in all such establishment. Otherwise, it is non-compliance. It will create more health hazards. So the problem here is in a dangerous process factory or hazardous process factory, a person who joins an organization, before that he has to go for a pre-employment medical check. This has to be captured, signed and kept as a record. And after a year and each year, before each year, he has to undergo a medical examination. Every year they have to undergo to see when before joining this organization, what was his or her health, and after joining. That is why I mentioned that there are some 32 notifiable occupation diseases also are there. So a person who joined an organization, what was his or her health before joining, and after a year, how is it same, or because of some reason, from dangerous activity or fumes or electric arc or something like that, or maybe from leather some diseases come, then this has to be immediately informed to the local factory inspectorate, stating that this is an occupational disease. This is because of the dangerous occurrences in the organization. Accordingly, the factory inspector will inform the employer to change many things, things like that. So these are all personal protective equipment. If they wear and they perform their duties, it will protect the individual. That is required. So that's why the medical examination has to happen before and every year. That is also there. Okay, the tools. Using correct type for each area of work that is required in all industries. Serviceability and condition of the particular tool. Few tools are to be certified by the competent persons. Access and control of tools in use, condition of airlines, electrical cords, maintenance of tools, all are required. So this will ensure non-dangerous, non-hazardous, smooth operations in a manufacturing facility. So this is required in all three types of manufacturing facility. Electrical equipment, so almost the same list I have mentioned here. It will consume more time. So serviceability, adequacy of lighting, power outlets, power quantity rating, so many things are there. So this will be more interesting to the people in the safety department. So this is also required, because even in an ordinary factory, electrical equipment will definitely be there to perform their job. machinery, adequacy of guards, operating controls protected from inadvertent operation. The adequacy of guards, maybe you might have seen many big cinemas, movies where somebody will go walk and then their cloth will be pulled by the machine and they'll go into accident, things like that. So there should be a guard, there should be a fencing, and any big objects were kept over the head, that also should be fenced. It can be taken out only through trolleys or maybe cranes, things like that. So the cranes also should be certified by the competent person. The person who's driving the crane or forklift, they should be eye tested. They should wear the glass, and the crane or the forklift should be in good condition. When it comes in the reverse, there should be a beep sound. When it comes in the reverse, then there should be a red light. So these are all the alert signs, so many things. So these are all small provisions are also captured in the Factories Act to ensure smooth process of operations in any type of a factory. So that's what is machinery. Also adequacy of guards, operating controls from inadvertent operation, flying object operation. Sometimes, mechanically, when somebody is doing something, something may fly. Periodic maintenance of records, it should be part of machinery. So which part, when it was bought, and what is the condition when it was serviced, whether the competent person has certified that, whether it is usable, what is the productivity it will give. It will be the same productivity when it was bought new, or now it is a different one, things like that. Emergency safety switch accessible. It's more important. As I told you, there's an emergency electrical switch, things like that. People have to go and switch off. User manuals available for each and every machine. It cannot be an individual dependency. Anybody should know about operation of any machinery. That user manual should always be available. These are all the main important activities should be known by the workers, and the duties of the employer to provide in an organization in all three. Emergency switch safety switch accessibility may not be required in ordinary, because there is no big emergency will be there. That serial number 4 also may not be required in ordinary units, because it's a very simple kind of a warehouse or a small area where the activities will not be very big. Storage areas, very important, where many things will be stored, electrical, chemical, things like that will be stored. So these areas, which are all is required, activities required, and which type of industry it is required. Accessibility to storage area, it should be restricted. It should have a shelf, and it should be just like that. It cannot be kept anywhere. Condition of lifting and stacking. So you cannot just like that take out in the hand, or with a sharp lifting a staple. You cannot hit and break the chemical if it is there. It should gas will be there, things like that. So it should be very protective. Ventilation and cleanliness always should be there. Lighting and ventilation in the storage areas. Condition of items in the storage. Shelf life. Any material, usually maybe in any manufacturing facility, any chemical, gas, or many things will be stored, but they have shelf life. Otherwise, it should be disposed as a wastage carefully within the timeline, with all protection. Isolation and labeling of hazardous substances. This is more important in hazardous companies. If it is they are available in an ordinary factory. So why I have mentioned these are also in an ordinary factory. Few things, if those substances are kept stored in an ordinary manufacturing facility also, it is allowed. It will not be considered as a hazardous factory. There is a limit up to such. Maybe many companies will be using welding, but they have a gas cylinder which is up to the below the limit what is allowed. So that will not be considered as a, even if something happens, it is not going to be a very big accident. It will be contained. So there is no issue. That we consider as an incident, not even an accident, things like that. So that's why in storage areas, few things are required for ordinary manufacturing facilities also. Warning signs definitely required. What is stored, why it is stored there, what are the characteristics of that substance which is stored, what will happen, how to take out, who's the responsible person, if something happen inside, who has to be informed, things like that. Chemical flammables are stored correctly. Many companies have a separate inside the manufacturing facility, they'll be having a separate place to store petrol, gas, many things. It will be a contained area. Nobody can go inside. Big chemicals also, inflammable chemicals that will be stored separately. These are all the duties of an employer and obligations of the workers to know this. Otherwise, it may lead to a dangerous situation or hazardous situation in any factory. Cleaning areas, ventilation and cleanliness, storage of cleaning fluids and materials regularly should happen with all precautions. Disposal of waste fluids and materials, condition of air hose, fittings, provisions, adequate, everything. So these are all have to be very cleaned in a regular interval. So we have mentioned very exhaustively. These are also required in all three types of establishment. Lifting devices and cranes, stackles, so many things. So the condition has to be perfect, should be certified by the person, it should be regularly maintained, should be serviced, because if anything goes wrong, it may lead to a dangerous situation. Labeling of load rating. If some lift can lift only up to 50 kgs or 500 kgs, that should be labeled. Otherwise, people who do not know should not load more on that, so that it will snap down and make a big accident. Competence of operator, who knows what, that is also there. So any trainee or apprentice cannot operate something immediately. They should be supervised. Competent supervisor. So we are also going to see who is the competent supervisor, which is the duty of an employer to engage in an hazardous factory. Clear ways and load movements control. So even for a movement of object or finished goods or any supplies, all ways to be very clear, kept. 5S plays a very big role. If any company follows 5S, this is more important. Safety, availability, state of safety publications, the important role by the safety officers to play, our safety committee to discuss and disseminate this kind of information to all the workers. Safety posters and warning signs wherever it is required. What kind of a safety is required in each area, different areas. Warning signs, condition and availability of personal protective notices. Which production area, what is required, where it is required, who can use it, how to use it. All such notices are part of an activity by the safety department. First aid, most important. First aid kits are also available in good condition, accessible, and it should be replenished. For example, maybe I buy a new one and people are using it, but I don't see it, and I'm not replenishing anything over there, then there is no use. So it should be required to be seen by a supervisor or a person who is in charge for first aid. These are all the provisions of the Factories Act, all required in every type of an activity. Ablution, adequacy, cleanliness. Ablution is nothing but cleaning. Something happens, immediately it will be cleaned. Some untoward incident happens, so the area should be cleaned, kept clean. Serviceability, whatever is required for an emergency, that has to be supplied from the first aid. Supply of hand cleanser, towels, clothing storage, provision of contaminated material bin. So any medical disposal has to be kept in the contaminated material bin and then has to be disposed. Is there any trained first aider? It is part of the safety job responsibility. Any first aid kit has to be manned only by the first aider, certified by authorization institute. In Tamil Nadu, it is St. John's Ambulance. In many other states also it is there. People should be certified regularly. They should be trained. I cannot be a same person every time. So other person also has to be certified, and then he will be the in charge person next year or once in 3 years, things like that. So everybody get learned about first aider, because it is not that only one person can handle if there is any medical emergency. Proper ventilation in ablation while it is cleaning, that smell, fume should not be only inside. So in such areas, it should be ventilated. Other zoning of noise, other hazard areas. So there is, if in many manufacturing, automobile and all, if you go into a painting section, or if you go into a welding section, a spark will be there. How people have to go, which type of zone, that everything should be marked. Zoning of noise or other hazard areas. So people will be careful where you have to wear a goggle and to go inside. So these are all the small things. It will make the person uh, more self accountable while going into that area. Definition of speed limits, vehicle operating areas. This is very much required. In many big industries, it is required, because movement of um, products or movement of supplies will be there. That is required. Emergency procedures and drill, that is always required once in 3 months, once in 6 months, in different types of companies. Awareness of personal to occupied hazard, general consciousness of personal to safety. So regular safety training program should happen. Correct use of cleaning signs to ramps have non-skid surfaces. This is more important. Somebody should not skid even while walking, because they are using shoes. Sometimes shoes may not so hard. It may go very smoothly also. If the surface of the uh, any place also is very smooth, then they may fall down, things like that. Is the OHS policy displayed? Are accidents reported and recorded? Is there a system for reporting, correcting the hazards? It should be down to top. Or maybe there is a provision in the factory sector where a person who found that there is an hazard in any operations or any process in an organization, they can immediately report it to the factory manager, or the occupier, or even they can report to the factory authority also. This also is allowed. Is OHS induction provided to every person's workplace specific? I have some two charts. I'll take. What is this? What is the periodicity to be followed to replace first aid kit? See, every first aid kit will have its own expiry date, or otherwise. So if it is going to be, that's what many companies what they have, they keep the first aid box locked, and they have a register. The person, or every shift or every relay, there will be a person responsible for that first aid kit. He knows that if somebody wants anything to be taken out, then they have to fill up in the register, and they'll take the key, open it, take it, and maybe somebody whoever is responsible from HR or safety department, they have to see whether something has to be replaced, replenished, then they have to do that. Or otherwise, if some companies, they keep the medicine also, or maybe first aid kits that may have a expiry date, then it is periodically as per the expiry date, it has to be replaced. Okay, I'll go to that thing. Okay. now we have seen this. Okay, building. So any building, if there is any debris or broken things like that, it was kept all over the building, that will cause more dangerous occurrence, or it may cause a lead to hazardous also, or during any emergency it will be very difficult. So any refuse is unappropriately stored near the manufacturing facility. It should not be there. So that's why it was mentioned, free of refuse, scrap should be immediately taken out, or any waste, it has to be immediately. Overgrown vegetation. So if people are regularly using a manufacturing facility, vegetation will not be there. Maybe sometime, due to COVID, 1 or 2 months, no manufacturing facility was opened, then vegetation will be there. Then it has to be immediately removed. No bushes should be there. It may, some reptiles, things like that, may cause harm to the workers. Stairs and handrails soundly constructed, definitely, because sometimes people may carry weight and walk through the stairs. Handrails should be uh, soundly constructed. Do open outside always during a fire. See, this is a very important provision. It will be mentioned in the reply letter from any of the factory authority also. Any industry is very clearly mentioned. Doors should be opened from inside to outside. It cannot be sliding door. Doors cannot be open, because if there is a fire, something like that, people have a panicky mood, and then they will just like that go to the window and they'll jump. They may not have the consciousness even to open it and then jump. So that's why it was very clearly provisioned that any door in any manufacturing facility should have a facility to open from inside to outside. If it is not done, even even if it is a air conditioned atmosphere, so many electronic industries may air conditioned atmosphere is required. There also you can keep lock, but it should be it should be open from inside to outside. Does everyone have clear access to exit? Very clearly told. All floors sound and regular. All floors free from tripping hazard. We have seen that it should be not be very smooth, or maybe it should be watery. These occupational health safety bulletins. Sorry, a small typographical error. Bulletin spelling and the information display. So these are required entire in the premises. These are all required in all three types of manufacturing facilities. So it will be any accident may happen in any of the industry, all three types of industry. It may be a fatal or non-fatal. Non-fatal, if it is required, people can be taken to ESI. If it is not ESI covered, then the people will be taken to the other hospital. Should be reported immediately to the respective inspector of factories or the deputy director, whoever it is, within 72 hours. If it is fatal, immediately or before 12 hours. And it has to be, apart from that, it has to be reported to the inspecting authority or district magistrate or collector, or it has to be immediately, and it has to be informed to the nearest police station also. We will be seeing why we need to inform the police and what role police has, and what they will take action, things like that. What's the responsibility of the employer? That we have a slide for that. And definitely relatives of the injured or deceased person has to be informed immediately, whether that's what any accident happened inside the premises or extended workplace. If somebody is going from the office, from the workplace to house, if something happened on the cab or the bus carrying the employees, then also all these things have to be carried forward, followed. Accident is required to be investigated to find out the causes, the reason. So why this has to be informed to the authority? It should not be a non-recurrence. If any violations are noticed, it will end up with the prosecution. So this is what I have mentioned. Can police authority file a legal case in case of fatal accident? I think one or two I have quoted. One Jharkhand, Honorable Jharkhand High Court case. A fatal accident within the factory premises will debar the proceedings and the section 3 about the police cannot take any action. If it is, they can only see why this needs to be informed to the police. The police can see whether is there any criminal intent happened because of the fatal. The fatal happened due to any criminal intention. That is what they would like to see. Otherwise, they have no role to play. They cannot file any case against the employer. So anything happened inside the factory, it is an accident, near an accident. Only the factory authority can prosecute the occupier or whoever is the manager over there for their negligence. So police cannot interfere if it is a non-criminal accident. Okay, employer duty in all processes. That is what we'll be seeing. We have running out of time, but we have some more slides. I'll rush. This, I think, everybody knows who is working in a factory or taking care of factory activities. Every employer in all processes, all three types of factories, approval, licensing, health initiatives, welfare, safety, everything will be there. Statutory display, all such things they will be having. Regulation of working hours of adults, provisions relating to women workers. Now in the code of OHC, I think OHS, even working of women after 7 p.m. It's also getting, they are allowing that. They have a provision allowing with the consent if the safety precautions are taken even women at workplace. Sorry, in a manufacturing facility also can work. Now it has been already extended to commercial establishment. Employer duties in a dangerous process. So report of accident, report of dangerous occurrence, report of notified disease. So that's what I said, there are some 32 different types. In Tamil Nadu, it is 32 notified diseases. Sorry, it is there in the factory schedule itself. Provisions relating to number of employees engaged in dangerous process. So I'll quote the Tamil Nadu process. A person who joining a company which is having a dangerous process, or he is going to work in a process which is dangerous. So he is not the entire company is under dangerous process. Only particular segment or particular department is having a dangerous process. If person is going to be employed over there, they have to take a medical checkup. After a year, they have to give medical checkup, and they have to get a fitness certificate also from the certifying surgeon. That is from the government. So this process has to happen. This is for the employees engaged only in that process, not for entire company. That's what the medical examination, what we have mentioned. Provision of medical facilities if something happens. Provision of PPE is compulsory. Training and education program. These are all the major duties of the employer during a dangerous process. We will just like that see what is section 2CB, which was included in 1987 factory amendment. Hazardous process causing material impairment result in pollution of general environment. This is what section 2CB states, which is called as a hazardous process. So where it happened, handling of material or substance or transporting from some place to this, the factory, or inside the factory also, from one place to another place, or you are going to manufacture a product or a substance which is going to be a hazardous, and you are only storing it for the use which will be used in one of the process. So you store a hazardous material which may cause a material impairment, or something happens, it will may cause a pollution to the general environment. Or during the process, not during the storage, but it is used in the process. During the process, something happens, and majorly effluent. So until such time the process is over, nothing happened. Maybe effluent is an hazardous. If something happens because of the effluent, or what is the quantity goes out, maybe I can quote very recent High Court case, where High Court said that we cannot open the organization, the manufacturing facility. So the quantity is gone out, and the kind of a specification, the characteristic of the waste, all such things are meant as a hazardous process. If that comes under effluent. So what is the employer duty which is inserted in the Factories Act? 41A, there should be a site appraisal committee. The site appraisal committee should have so many people. The employer has to apply to the inspector of factories, and they'll be having a list of panelists. Inspector of factories will be there, chief will be there. There is a representative from air pollution department and the water pollution department. From these two departments, one person from state, one person from central. So air state one, central one, two, water state one, central one, two, four plus chief of inspector of factories. From another state environment department, there will be another person. Central meteorological department, there will be another person. Expert from the occupational health, town panchayat planning. Apart from that, there will be another 5 people. So this will constitute a big committee members. They will look into the hazardous process. See, actually speaking, there are 2 types. One, the company is going to start a manufacturing process, and they will apply with many other documentation, and they will be telling that we will be using this as a substance which may considered as a hazardous. This may be stored, or this may be processed, or this is the final product of our company manufacturing process. This is what we are going to do. So even before I am going to start the manufacturing facility, 30 days in advance, I will apply. So these committee members will study everything, then they will give go ahead. Or an existing company, they're going to extend their the regular manufacturing process, which they deem that this is going to be hazardous. So before starting that the other product or other process, they have to get approval from the chief inspector of factories. So there is a process where they have to apply. That is called a site appraisal committee. They will discuss and they'll say go ahead. There's so many on-site drills have to be done, off-site drills will be done. That we will be seeing. 41B, compulsory disclosure of if it is approved, then if there is a process is started, material safety data sheet, information or disclosure of health hazard. Because of this particular substance, what will happen? Health and safety policy has to be prepared and displayed, and has to be sent to the authority also. There should be an on-site emergency plan, detailed disaster control measures on-site, both for internal workers and external public, general public. So in case of any disaster, what will happen? Who has a duty to do? What each person has to do? How they have to run, or how they have to cover themselves, protect themselves, all such things will be there. This is what will be done as a drill during drills. 41C, specific responsibility to occupier in relation to hazardous process, maintain accurate, up-to-date. We have seen health records, and we have to appoint competent, qualified, experienced person. That's what I have mentioned initially. Any hazardous process, a person has to be appointed as a supervisor who should be qualified, highly qualified, and he should have an experience. He should be competent in handling hazardous situations. So that is the responsibility of the employer, that is the occupier. Provide medical examination before and after, we have seen. Permissible limits of exposure, chemical and toxical substance. So they have to ensure that I store only the substance, hazardous substance, only up to the permitted limits. I should not store it more. I get a license for this, and if I store more, something happens, then the occupier will be prosecuted immediately. Workers' participation in the safety management. There should be a safety committee to promote collaboration between the management and the worker. There should be equal participation from both. See, the chief of the occupier will appoint a chief, and then there will be a safety officer will be there from the management side, and equal representation from the workers also, so that both will understand in how to ensure a smooth and safe work environment while handling the hazardous processes. 41H is right of workers to warn about. That's what we discussed. So a person who sees an immediate danger in an hazardous process, he will immediately inform to the occupier authority. So employer duties in hazardous process. So before applying for hazardous process industry, they have to get a clearance of the location. So you cannot open a hazardous process industry in any place. You see, like that's why the chemical factories will be in one line, away from a city. It cannot be given approval near the housing area, things like that. So you have to get a clearance from the authorities on the location of the industry. Operational committee we have seen, dissemination we have seen, on-site emergency plan, all we have seen, medical examination, decontamination. If something happens, so what they have to do. So any acid or chemical reaction, the individual is getting affected. What they have to do to safeguard the individual immediately. Decontamination facilities, what they should have. Occupational health center, they should definitely have. Any hazardous manufacturing facility, they have to have a occupational health center inside the premises. They should have an ambulance van also. This may not be required for a dangerous process industry, but for hazardous process industry, this is required. And here, appointment of safety officer and many other provisions are applicable only after they reach a threshold of a head count. But for an hazardous manufacturing factory, even it is less than 10, or even if it is less than 1,000, they need to apply for the safety officer, appoint and a safety officer. So many other head count exemptions are there. So they cannot just like that wait till they reach the particular head count. For hazardous, these are all mandatory. Employment of qualified and competent supervisor, we have seen. Certification of many things. So now we have seen many things like pressure vessel. We have seen chain, rope, stack, lift. All such machine has to be certified by a competent person appointed by the government regularly without periodicity. Conducting periodical safety audits and submit authority under. We will be seeing what is that MSIHCS rule. There's another act which is applicable to the hazardous factory. Periodical awareness to employees and the general public, because here there will be a environmental issue also will be there due to pollution. So general public are nearby the factory up to such kilometers. They are also to be made aware of what will happen, and at such time what they have to do. That's what we have mentioned. On-site mock drill, off-site mock drill involving general public. So this is what that rules, what I had mentioned in the previous slide, MSIHC rules. It is nothing but the manufacture, storage, import of hazardous chemical rules. It's something other than the Factory Act. So there is a responsibility of the occupier. So it's very shortly I have mentioned what is the occupier duty, identify the major accident hazards and take adequate steps to prevent such major accident. They have to do. So under this act also, apart from the Factories Act, they have to take care of the hazardous processes. Isolated storage in which there is involved a threshold quantity. So they can store only a threshold quantity of allowed hazardous chemical. More than that, they cannot store. There is another act, which legislation, which controls the hazardous manufacturing facility. It is called SIMAC rules. The control of industrial major accident hazard rule. So under this rule, occupier's duty is identify major accident hazard, provide evidence that steps into prevent major accidents. So these are all, there are so many schedules are there. Accordingly, they have to see, it is almost a replica of the Factories Act. If they are doing everything under the Factories Act, most of the provisions are covered under these two also, but these two are also important. They have to mandatorily comply with these provisions also. So in all three, these are all the employer duties under hazardous process. Few are there for all three, few are there only for hazardous process. Safety officer, if even in an ordinary factory, if it is 1,000 or 1,000 or more, safety officer appointment is required. But in hazardous processes, that threshold is not required. Even it is 5, 10 or 20 or 30, it is required. Welfare officer, not concerned with hazardous processes. Medical officer, definitely only when there is a OHC, Occupational Health Center, it is required. We will be seeing what is the head count, what is the number of medical officer has to be appointed. That is a requirement under the hazardous process. Competent qualified supervisor, when there is a hazardous process is there, these people have to be appointed like a safety officer. Certification from competent person. So lifting machine, centrifugal machine, so many lists are there. This has to be certified. Then only these instruments have to be operated. Otherwise, it is non-compliance. Accredited agencies to conduct a safety audit. That is for every once in 2 years. Under the other rule, this has to be safety audit has to be done by the authorized person and submitted to the government. So this is the head count. I think those who are in the factory already there, they can have. So crash, what is the head count? Corresponding head count, what is the provision of the act? So many things are there. Factory medical officer, I have mentioned up to 50 medical officer on the retainer basis, 51 to 200 part-time, 200 to 500, one full-time medical officer, 500 and above. This is required for hazardous manufacturing facility. One full-time medical officer and one additional medical officer for 1,000 thereof. If there are 3 different shifts and for each shift there should be a medical officer. So occupational health center should be there in the hazardous process. Drenching shower, that is one of the contamination facility. 2 for every 50 head count. First aid boxes, this is for any type of industry, whether ordinary, hazardous or dangerous, we should have. Ambulance van is required only in case of hazardous processes. Ambulance room, there are difference between ambulance van availability and ambulance room availability. For non-hazardous processes, it is called as ambulance room. For hazardous process, it is called occupational health center. There is a difference. So here the requirement is 50 and above. Then MO should be on the retainer basis. There in ambulance room, it is 500 or more, and doctor, nurse, and the compounder are to be there. So there's a small difference between provision of medical facilities to the workers in an organization. So this is the workers' obligation and rights. No worker in a factory shall willfully interfere with or misuse any appliance. So they should not misuse anything. Willfully, without reasonable cause, do anything likely to endanger himself and others. So willfully neglect to make use of any appliance. If any worker employed contravened any of the said point, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for term. So under the Factories Act, even the individual employee can be imprisoned. There is nothing like taking action, cutting an increment, or throwing out of the job. They can also imprison. Every worker shall have the right to obtain from the occupier information relating to workers' health and safety at work. Get trained within the factory wherever possible to get himself sponsored by the occupier. So represent to the inspector directly. That's what we have discussed. Directly and through his representative in the matter of inadequate provisions of the protection of his health and safety. So if they see any imminent danger because of the processes happening in the manufacturing facility, they can directly go and represent with the factory inspector. Also can be done. I think we have come to the end of the session. I think I have taken some 10 more minutes of your time. I will be available to take some questions from any of the participants. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. Yes, please. I think 1 second. I think you can talk. Unmute and talk.
Hi, this is Raja Kumar.
Yes.
So I have a doubt regarding the periodical medical checkup, whether it is mandatory or annual medical checkup is enough.
For which process?
Hazardous.
Every year.
Yeah, we are coming under MAH unit.
Every year, once in 12 months. Before completion of 12 months, this is required.
No,
This
that's what we are doing the annual medical checkup during the month of December. Whether periodical medical checkup is also mandatory to.
Okay, so as I told, the medical checkup for the persons engaged in the hazardous process is something different from the periodical medical checkup. You may have an annual medical checkup for every employee, but it may not include, for example, I work in dust and fume, which is considered as a dangerous or hazardous unit. That process is also called, where I need to have a PFT test. So it may not be a part of annual medical checkup. So in such cases, the persons who are engaged in the process have to separately considered for a regular checkup. So a person who is working inside a big noise always, so he has to go for a ear check. That is also has to happen. So if all such things are included for all employees, then separate medical examination is not required. But for example, I'll tell you, a person who is working in the hazardous process, who is driving the forklift, crane, both. Now for them, eye checkup is compulsory. So if your annual medical checkup does not have the eye checkup, then they have to go for that medical checkup separately. So that has to be included. So you have to see what type of activity the person who is there in the hazardous process is doing. For them, what is the requirement? Medical checkup is required, that they have to do once in a year, and it has to be captured in.
And that's what we are doing all the test. For example, eye test, audiometric, PFT, everything we are doing during the month of December for this annual medical checkup. Whether periodical medical checkup is also mandatory.
No, if you are doing this, then you can consider.
And based on that, we are giving the input in the form number 17 and 27.
Yeah, you give all the inputs in form number 17. If you have a medical officer in your office, they can certify, and then same thing can be certified by the certified surgeon of the authority, who will issue a fitness certificate based on current year's annual medical checkup and the previous year medical checkup. Then there is no separate periodical medical checkup is required.
Fine. And one more point related to Creech. So you have mentioned 30 and more women worker.
Yes.
It is 30 or 50? I 50? Come to know it is 50.
50 is for shop and commercial, other than manufacturing facility. Shop and commercial establishment, mines, catering. That is very recent, which was added in the amended with the Maternity Benefit Act. Here, provision of creche is a part of Factories Act. In the Factories Act itself, there is a provision stating that if an establishment having 30 or more women employees, including contractual employees. So this is a part of this regulatory act.
So you mean to say only in factories this condition is applied, 30 or more workers,
30 or more, it is required in factories. If you are working in an office, then there it is 50 or more.
Fine. Thanks.
So anybody else? Okay, hope we will get this presentation by mail. Yeah, definitely. Recording also will be given. Okay, one more person has raised hand. Yes. Yeah, you can talk.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
It's regarding drinking water testing, whether we need to conduct drinking water testing once in 6 months?
The factory regulation has very clearly told that employer is required to give a potable water. That's all. Whether it is hygienic or that, if there is any unhygienic material is there, then you may have to go. Otherwise, there is no specific mention about that you have to go for a test and then get it from the particular person or the accredited agency and then give. They have very clearly mentioned only potable water to be provided. I think 5 liters per day per person, something like that.
Okay.
As per the act, but if you have seen something in specifically in any state rules, please let me know. I will also cross check, and I will let know. As far as my knowledge goes, there is no such requirement for a company to go for a certification of water testing,
Okay, sir.
drinking water.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much for your time. We'll be meeting, if whoever is interested, they can join our next session on income tax. So we are going to have a session for income tax return filing, which is due in September for the previous financial year, and income tax planning, that is more important, crucial for everyone, for you as an employee or an assessee, as well as your employees, because from this year onwards, new tax regime, old tax regime, both are there. So much of confusion. By the time the corona came, the establishments were not opening, options were not obtained from the individual employees. So many confusions are there. We are going to discuss on new tax regime and old tax regime, tax planning, tax return filing, that is due in September. That is on Thursday. Friday, we will be having one more session. It will be taken by a CEO of a company. He is going to talk about workplace workplace habits and productivity. Because of so much of problem, people have come to COVID, post-COVID, and you are working from home. So how to improve the productivity, how to improve, enhance the workplace habits, that is going to present. So I'll be sharing to whoever is participated today. I'll be sharing once I create that ID, Zoom ID. I will immediately share. You please join. One is from 3 to 4, and on Friday it is 3:30 to 4:30. Thank you very much for your time. We'll close for the day. Thank you. Happy weekend.